very up on what is happening day in and day out, probably more so than myself, just because he needs to be. It's been quite exciting, but again, the match to get here for Ovidio and Robles, one to go back and watch later, best of 7 men's doubles final. I love how Ma Long can cover such a wide range with that forehand. That shot would have taken a lot of players off balance, had them cross over. He's able to reach, still hook it back aggressively for the win.
Well, you mentioned our Lipo Live discussion show. We actually had we did a tactical breakdown of Ma's in the singles in the quarterfinals, but actually the points you're making, Adam, could apply here to the doubles as well. Just his coverage, flexibility. He's not one of the youngest guys out there anymore, but still incredible how he moves around the table, and clearly that's going to help you in doubles as well.
Yeah, we're talking about a player who was out of the game on pretty serious injuries, not playing for about 6 months. And he comes back to win the Qatar Open. Look at the after motion, though. That looked like Liu Shiwen's serve. Subtle contact, the racket goes around the other way. And we saw one shot block come out already, but the pressure, the distance of the shot coming in didn't lend itself to Ma Long making the shot. But from a timing standpoint, the European pair is going to have to try and stay closer to the table. Robles is very forehand dominant, and he's a big guy. But the timing yesterday with the parallel backhands, the punch shots were quite effective to keep the opponents under pressure. Now, Don Parker actually said if he went to battle like Braveheart style, he wanted to have as his general on the front lines Ovidio Ionescu, just his sort of grit and determination. But he goes very boldly, very early on the rise to take the ball quite aggressively. He's all, I'd say, all forward. That's his game.
Well, it's got to be here as well if they're going to have any chance as well. That's got to be a tactic, you feel. It's one of the things I think the Chinese do, one of the things, many things they do very well is they rush you along as well. You can already see this, the way they've started. Even for these two, played so well. Just very good at taking your time away and making you feel, you already get the sense here, they're imposing. They're running it along, rushing along through the points.
Well, I think there's always a time for it. Here, the coverage from Ma Long on the deep backhand to get that forehand into play from the middle. It's like the point that Omar Assar analyzed. He covers the middle so well. Forehand's difficult to do that with. Oh, beautiful Chiquita from in at the table. Heavy side and top, Chen Qi in the corner. Former national team player, has been coaching now. Personal coach to Xu Xin, working with the Chinese men. Quite a dominant start in this best of 7 final. Now, if you think about it, you might think, I've heard people say, oh, 4-0, China's going to take this, it's going to be quick. Well, Xu Xin is the best doubles player we've seen ever. And playing with Ma Long, arguably the best player in the game. These two men right here from Europe beat that pairing. So their chances should be even better here. The chop block doesn't come down for Ionescu. In terms of rushing, I think when you're in a flow, either side should, if they can. Slowing it down as if you feel that the opponents are succeeding in rushing. Basically anything you can do to make the opponents not play their game slightly less comfortable. You know, if you can turn a 1-point or a 2-point run into a quick 4-point run, it's to your advantage.
That's what they've been doing here.
That's the chop block, low to the net that Ma Long does that earns that passive push back, and Wang Chuqin knows exactly what to do when the ball comes back. 7 game points for the dictator and the Youth Olympic gold medalist to take the first. That forehand flick is too solid, 11-3. The dictator dictating. Back for game number 2. Chinese pairing in the lead. Top of the screen, Wang Chuqin with the serve, with the dictator waiting for the 3rd ball. Good placement here from Robles, right on the line with Chiquita. Interestingly enough, in his native language, Chiquita means little girl, but we're referring to the banana receive, the banana flick.
Yes, yes. I was going to ask you, Adam, actually, about that. We've obviously got banana flicks.
Oh, just real quick to acknowledge the service toss warning, that the serve toss wasn't nearly vertical.
They've been really sharp on that this week, actually, in a good way. We've had a few instances of that where players have been warned. But I think it's good official there, because it's not, it's making the point, but it's not too overly imposing. It's also there's a little bit of leniency there, at least to start with. It's also the time as well taken, as well as the other issue. It's been handled this week, I think, very, very well by the officials.
One thing that I find quite impressive is that at 18 years old, Wang Chuqin takes the note, doesn't change his serve too much. I mean, it was still very questionable. He could have easily been faulted right away. But just enough to stay inside the line and keep his focus and make sure that he delivers a very tight and threatening serve, something to set up that third ball.
Now, I was going to ask you about all these fruit-based descriptions.
Yes.
What the reason is behind that. Banana flicks and strawberries and chiquitas. Is there something in that, or is it just you get hungry in the booth?
Well, that's what I like to credit it to, long days, and it's just on my mind. I mean, between the pancake flip, the ice cream cone flip.
Yeah, there's a theme here.
There is. None of which involve killing. No, I got you. A beautiful backhand from Robles and the cross-court shot here. So ties it up at the first towel break. To answer your question, the banana flick or flip has been around for some time. Yes. Peter Korbel of Czech Republic. They say that it's because of the path of the ball, but also that the racket takes the side spin and the top spin combined to curve out, much like a banana. In Scotland, they call it the elephant. Ooh, beautiful inside-out forehand over the table here. Again, a tall, lanky player is going to have to use that wrist in the forehand flip game. Watch him get up here. It's a low shot. This is very bold, a little off the top of the net, but perfectly placed to the corner. Now, the strawberry, on the other hand, I read in a forum, a chat pit, a few years back and thought, I get it, and I like it. It's the opposite rotation in the same situation as the banana. So only later did I find out that it was my friend, Kanakja's coach, Stefan Fett from Germany, who's also the U.S. team coach for some time, who came up with that. Oh, what a rally. And with the opposing team, the Chinese pair out of position in that last moment, the punchy backhand from Robles doesn't come down, but what a save. Ma Long running through again. Wang Chuqin jumping back like he was blasted with an air gun, racket behind the head for the counter.
Yeah, it's fantastic defense, wasn't it, away from the table there.
Pretty much the most offensive defense you can get. That side spin again, making the kick, creating an uncomfortable ball. It's uncomfortable for everybody in that situation. I've seen Ma Long take the ball in that position, chop block it, touch it back, but he can't be passive here because these two, especially Ionescu, so aggressive. There we go, serve sets up a beautiful third ball opportunity in the backhand to finish.
Yeah, I mean, that first set coming a little got away from them. But here, I think we're seeing more of what we've seen this week. Much more into this.
So despite losing that point, the European pair have already doubled their score from game one. And they're dead even here at the second towel break. That's what the reverse pendulum is all about, the opposite side spin from the traditional pendulum serve that Ma Long uses. Again, based on history and nothing else, this match is much more possible to be taken by the Europeans than many would expect. That's such a clever shot. Wang Chuqin playing it soft and spinny from below the table. Robles is waiting for the big opening to counter, just a step behind. Empty serve, little rotation, and by the time Robles takes that ball, it's below the table. Tough one to handle. Oh, back edge, break there.
Well, they need all the fortune to go along with good play here in this second. As you say, it's more possible, but you do also get the feeling out of here in these next few moments for the Europeans, absolutely massive, and then you go two down. It's difficult to see it even in this week of shocks and surprises here in Budapest, but sneak it.
Yeah,
it's possible.
Right, in terms of opportunities, this is an incredible opportunity. It's groundbreaking for these two Europeans, and especially considering how they came together. Yeah. But even to make it this far on this stage is just it's like every single match is a bonus match, and if you can extend it, the dream just gets more and more amazing. But there's a similar factor here for Wang Chuqin. How many times in his life do you think he's going to be paired with Ma Long? And he's 18 years old, so there could be some history made here for him as well.
Yeah, they've got a real opportunity here, these two now. That was the thing with the first game, is that obviously Ma and Wang got away very quickly. Hasn't happened here. Indeed, they've got the lead of 1.
Beautiful parallel there. And again, the Chiquita to open up gets a slightly hesitant shot here from Ma Long. And right away, the short rally. That's what Ionescu is looking for, and that's what the European pair needs. They can't get into the open rallies from behind the table. Once that happens, it definitely favors the Chinese pairing. So ending the points quickly, Ionescu on a mission. 2 game points now for the European pair. Long push does it. Fist pumped. He is determined. We are tied up at 1 game apiece. This is getting quite exciting, and it's only just begun. We'll see what happens. Who takes the lead? Game 3 coming up right after this. Players back to the table for game number 3. And while the European pair has been heavily outscored here, 19 points to 14, points don't matter in the overall scheme of things. The first team to win 4 games wins the match and here the title. But Guy, I was just chatting with you briefly between games. There's a quote that's been said many different ways, which I will give to you just after this point.
Pause for a moment. I mean, what about that from Wang?
Well, this has been his typical for as long as I've been watching him in this event. Over the table, he's so bold. He doesn't feel the need to just spin it up. He drives forward and goes aggressively to the deep corners. Speaking of corners, we've got a parallel shot here, a little bit of side spin again, but the surprise factor is so high from Robles.
Well, they sliced them open there.
Look at it one more time. Watch him tuck. Just drops back, a little bit of side, a whole lot of top. But placement every time, very clever. Good anticipation this time, waiting patiently. Wang Chuqin has been burned on that turnaround. And I think the ability to learn from just the point before, you don't want it to cost you 2 points when you make a mistake. And by mistake, I mean anticipate wrong, for example, or get burned by the opponent. Nice change here. Robles changes it up. But again, Wang Chuqin playing patiently. This is something that Ma Long shows so well. He rarely leaves early because he knows he's fast enough to get the next ball, and it's not worth the risk of being caught out of position. So it is not the strongest of the species that survives, but the most adaptable or willing to change. And I think Ma Long is the most adaptable player in the world. And I think that's something that Wang Chuqin is not credited for, and also is still developing on a lot. He's only 18 years old, and I think he's getting better and better at becoming adaptable. But there's a reason why just recently Satyen Ionescu was able to beat Wang Chuqin. And I think international experience and ability to change, I mean, Satyen's game is quite different, but Ma Long seems to adapt to almost everybody.
Yeah, I mean, the experience helps, doesn't it? And he's been through it, and obviously he's done an awful lot of winning. He's won many more matches than he's lost in his long career, but you've got to go through. What is it the players say often to you, Adam? They say to us, you know, they learn more from a defeat. They're able to evolve and progress more from a defeat than from all his victories.
We definitely hear that a lot, and I think in the case of world-renowned Tomokazu Harimoto, we see him take a loss and then come back so strong right away. I mean, this tournament, he lost twice in the past to Marcos Freitas. Didn't even give him a chance to get his head above water in this match here. And here's a perfect example of turning early. Wang Chuqin anticipates that the spin is going to carry the ball to the backhand corner. There's going to be a turn, and the weight just comes up from Ionescu, and he's burned the opposite way. Well, there's definitely no fear on Ionescu's side, but in terms of depth from the table, it's really tough from that far back. Once you're there, though, I think that's the right answer. Ionescu can't get into the fishing game too much. They're going to have to counter quickly, keep the pressure on, make their way back into the table. Ooh, fault. There it is. He was warned before for the service toss, the angle of it. Now, in terms of mental maturity, when you're faulted, very difficult, especially for younger players, to not get flustered. I think 2012 Olympic Games.
But isn't this, Adam, where Ma is important here?
Oh, yeah.
As well. Kind of father figure.
Right.
As well. There we go, the tactic again.
Brother Long, as he's been called, the big brother on the team to all.
Yeah, big brother, actually, it's better than father. We wasn't being that old. He's what, he's 30. I mean, yeah, big brother. That's a good description.
And he is a father.
It's important as well for him to step in here, because as you said, Wang is incredibly talented, but lacks that experience comparatively. So
now I'm curious, I didn't see, I wasn't focusing on the serve. There are a lot of other things to focus on, but the toss of the serve, we've seen warnings for different reasons. The first toss warning, or the only warning, was on the back toss. Perfect length here, just off the table, but close enough. We don't see Ma Long missing this shot too often, so you know the serve has to be tight. A good timeout here. Chun Chi standing up, calling the timeout. A 3-point run for the European pair. Here we go, 1 point between them. Chinese pair back from the timeout. Just missing. There's a lot of interesting pressure on Ionescu in this rally because he's got a teammate who's way out wide on the backhand corner, so he has to play the wide angle, so the ball comes back cross court. And that's something, I think that's very clever thinking from Ionescu, and part of the reason he's such a strong doubles player, but he has to take that chance and play it on the line. So big point for some momentum. A little bit of confidence turned into momentum here. The timeout has paid off so far.
last couple of points here, Wang just seems to have drawn a line a little bit under that. I mean, he's been really the key player there in those last couple of exchanges.
Tight serve by Ma Long, looks heavy, overlifted. Again, it's not necessarily how much spin is on the ball, but how deceptive it can be. So oftentimes, I'd say, we'll see empty serves that earn the point outright. That's what's done here. It's 4 game points for the Chinese pair. One saved here by the Europeans. Service game, that's what Robles brings. He's been very strong in the reverse pendulum serve. But the backhand, a little bit of a struggle, and from behind the table, without that extra top spin on it, it's the Chinese pair who take it, 11-7.
We look at it in one sense, it's a fantastic first point, isn't it?
I just want to acknowledge that Ma Long, at the point this is contacted, it looks clearly out of reach, and he's there. He's able to get his arm so far, yet keep his shoulder in socket and still play a winning shot. That little bit of side spin, too, to bend it back.
There's that flexibility again I talked about earlier. But I mean, everyone can see the timeout worked for them in that previous game to go on. They produced the run of points. Just your thoughts generally on it, on the use of timeouts and, if you like, their place in the game at the moment.
Well, I think there are a lot of different ways timeouts can function. And while you might think tactical changes, I often think about that, what needs to change. Sometimes it's simply giving them a moment to cool down, get their head out of the mess that is this heated match. You know, tactically, players often know what to do and how to change. Little break here off the top of the net. But also, I think sometimes you see a player flustered. You know, the service fault can definitely get someone distracted, change their focus. And a coach's job can just be to set a player on track, not feed them something they didn't know about how to play table tennis or how to beat the opponent, but just remind them what to focus on, you know? Make the conversation about getting in after the serve, about the soft touch. And I think that was basically it here. Get the head straight for Wang Chuqin. And it definitely worked. He came right out and has been doing what he's been doing so well throughout this tournament, playing aggressive near the table, playing fearlessly, and just playing his game, forcing the opponents to deal with the heat that he brings. Funny, I've talked to players who, you know, Demo sometimes will go over to Rossi on the timeout. And all Rossi will say is something to the effect of, you got this, right? And he might do it in different wording.
That's all it needs.
So right out of the timeout, the point goes the other way. And coaches know best. I mean, that's what their job is. They're basically sports psychologists for the players who happen to know the game very well. So sometimes the "you got this" factor or the "believe," they find ways to say it without saying it, you know? Whatever pulls the best performance out of your players. But Ma Long and Wang Chuqin right now starting to break ahead. 5 points in front, not a point for the team that just called the timeout. So it continues here. Wang Chuqin, look at this aggression. Backhand just one, and the kick is so fast. But I think Robles is doing the right thing to stay close and try to stay on top. And it pays off here, turns for the forehand. His forehand covers a lot of space. And he took a risk, really, to turn the corner. If it goes the other way, no chance to touch it. I shake my head to say yes, that's right, you have to. I mean, in the European corner, he's sticking to the plan here. Short rallies, get aggressive. He's made shots tougher than this. It's still a very tough ball, but remember that inside-out sort of sliding forehand flick?
There's not tons of table to work with there. That's the problem if you look at it. It's quite a high tariff shot.
5 by 9 feet. The feeling of Ma Long, it's like he's able to slow things down. I often liken him to Neo from The Matrix. What appears fast to everyone else, to Ma Long, he can just sort of run around and take care of things and sculpt out the point the way he wants. There it is, 11-3, a quick game out of the timeout. Now there are no timeouts left, and the backs of the Europeans are against the ropes here. A very determined and a very well-prepared Chinese pair are up 3 games to 1. We'll be back for game number 5 right after this. Three to 1 right now. The Chinese pair 1 game away from a title. And not just any title, but the biggest title on offer in 2019. Guy, you said it, the timeout didn't really seem to cause much trouble for the Chinese pair.
No, I mean, total contrast in the success or otherwise of timeouts. You look at over those 2 games. It's just real hammer blow, I think, for the European pair. Just didn't produce anything. No fruit. You talk about all your descriptions. He didn't bear any fruit at all.
Yeah, a lot of labor, no fruit for it. You know, game number 4 was really the game by pattern because that was the service and the playing order that favored the European pair. They won 11-8 in the second. They needed to take the 4th. Now they're back on the side that they haven't won a game yet, 11-3, 11-7. But the last game, 11-3, tough to come back from that. And you can see tactically that they're trying to get in really quickly, make the shots count early. And I think the Chinese pair knows this. They're doing the same, but they're keeping the ball low. We saw yesterday Robles make a few shots like this. With his body like a pencil, stood straight up, slapping it from in near the waist. Tough times right now. But being able to do it all, like the Chinese pair, good in the counterattacks, good at the opening attacks. And as you can see, the touch game, able to keep it low and make it a very, very low percentage shot for these over-the-table attacks. For the other side, of course.
Well, it's one of the many areas, isn't it, with the Chinese? I remember we discussed it quite a bit at last year's World Championships. The team World Championships in Halmstad quite a bit about the quality of their short game, their touch game. You know, really, remember Jon Persson talking about that and saying, well, you know, simply we've got to try and improve. Because I said to him at the time, well, it's there. What do you do? Train harder, work harder.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely a factor. A lot of people talk about the Chinese rubber, which is interesting because it is heavy and hard, and it's very good in the short game. It's easy to keep the ball short, but you know, these players are the hardest working players. The Chinese national team is the most competitive process to even make anywhere in the world. He pulled the Zhang Jike, ducking under the table, as we saw in 2015 in Suzhou. Wang Chuqin had turned the corner the other way. Clever play from Robles. Quick decision to go parallel. So only 3 points between them now. Quite recoverable. Ma Long, it's like he can just decide what he wants to do and make it happen with an unbelievable success rate. The racket speed here, that ball would have hit him in the left hip had he not moved. And by the time it gets to him, he's got a full swing forehand. Perfect flick, the angle wide, unpredictability factor too high, definitely a head scratcher.
Oh, the execution is so good there from Wang. Made that look so easy.
So 6 points between them, stopped at 2 points. The Europeans, it's looking quite grim. And overall, the tournament, I mean, to get a silver medal is just crazy newsworthy, and the celebrations will be big. But right now, it's looking quite unlikely that they'll be able to turn this around. Ma Long and Wang Chuqin just too strong, too determined here. Technically, from a focus standpoint, I mean, they've brought everything to the table. Dismissive forehand flip there. Every once in a while, taking that gamble, Wang Chuqin's left open that forehand line, and it's not worked out for him.
Yeah. Just a word on the atmosphere here. It might be coming to a close shortly. I mean, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, the support, the Chinese support, we take that for granted, but these two, the noise, you were talking about this, the semi-final last night, Adam. I mean, it's been pretty good today as well, even if they, you know, looking like they're going to lose this. A word for the supporters.
So an update on that, Ovidio Ionescu's club, the club he plays for, came, I believe, all the way here to cheer for him. They were chanting OB, OB. Almost just unstoppable. The Chinese pair in this rally from corner to corner, coast to coast, put so much pressure on, deflecting the aggressive shots. Ma Long quickly turns it in. One forehand, and it's a knockout punch. 6-game match and championship points for Wang Chuqin and the Dictator. Almost finished it with an around-the-net shot. Looked like what he was going for there. 1 match point saved.
He wanted point in the day as well, on top of the medal.
Oh, man. He's got room to take it. 5 championship points left. And there it is, Ma Long and Wang Chuqin, 30 years old and 18 years old, have taken the World Championship title here in 2019 in Budapest, Hungary. They will go down in history. They will be listed. What a performance. And 18 years old, to be as strong as he was, definitely did more than his part. But you could see the power of the Dictator.